Alright, so let's talk Oberon, the GOAT. So we're not gonna pretend that Oberon is, not in need of a rework, but he's also not as, looked down upon. He's more looked down upon than he should be, really. Uh, it's kind of a thing where he used to be something, he's not really that role anymore, and people just kind of wander aside here and have kind of mixed him up. But let's dive in here. If you do want to jump straight to the build and avoid the early explanation, you'll see a timestamp pop up on screen right about now, and you can jump to that. Otherwise, we're going to do a quick overview of how Oberon works for anyone new to him. Of course, if you do enjoy the video, remember to like and subscribe for more. Check out the playlist down below for all the Warframe builds and other links in the description, and we will see you in a second here. So yeah, the first thing to look at with Oberon is how do you get Oberon? So Oberon used to be super easy. He was quite commonly the first Warframe that many people, myself included, would get because he used to just drop from Xmas units. Basically, his blueprints would drop in the spot where Riven Slivers, I think, are now dropping. Not so much nowadays. Nowadays, he is kind of not buried, but he is in the Railjack missions, which means you will need to get far enough to unlock the Rising Tide mission in your codex. And then once you got that, you go up here and you have to go do some Railjack stuff on Earth or Saturn specifically. Kind of annoying, to be honest. You can also try and farm Oberon Prime if he is in the Prime Resurgence. Basically, when you go into those Railjack missions, you will see different objectives. Make sure you're doing one once it has objectives and not just a regular kill all the enemy fighters situation. You'll eventually pick up Oberon. Moving on to the basics of Oberon. His passive is a thing that exists. It technically gives your team better health, armor, and shields on their companions, but relatively marginal all in all. You'll give them a decent chunk of health and armor, but not too much else, because I believe it also links his buffed armor, which we'll talk about in a second. And they get instant revive permission. There's so many ways to revive the companions that you wouldn't even notice, though. Moving on, we've got Smite over here. So Smite by itself shoots out these lasers. You can see in a little video there. I'm not going to put together a whole demonstration because it's not too impressive. The biggest thing with the lasers is if you do manage to land them all on the same enemy, they will actually deal a percentage of its health rather than just the damage that you see there. You can see it's the fourth line down is orb damage. Doesn't scale with anything, but 3 casts of Smite if you are fighting one target and you can get all the orbs, so all the orbs bounce back on them, will kill anything in the game. Along with Trinity, this was one of the original you could kill anything of any level abilities. Or relevantly, the main thing you'll often see people going for with Smite is Smite Infusion, the augment. Gives allies a radiation buff that does scale with power, strength, and duration as well. That's fallen down a little bit. Radiation is not the damage type it once was. It is still kind of useful if you're running Oberon for Eidolons, but other than that, not so much. So his second ability and his third ability, I'm basically going to try and sort of talk about these together before I do a little demonstration. Hallowed Ground, this is what you probably have most noticed if you've ever played around in Oberon, if you've found one still in the wild. Touch grass, throws down the grass all over the place. The grass does radiation per second. It will inflict radiation status, which is, of course, a crowd control that makes the enemies, generally speaking, attack each other as long as you're not closer to them. Hallowed Ground, more importantly, enables the synergy with his other 2 abilities. There is also an augment for this, but it doesn't show in this view. It just lets you detonate. You can explode the ground early for its total damage. Don't really recommend it unless you're going to Helminth off Reckoning and still try and be a nuke. There is a way to do that, but it's a very niche build. Renewal, you cast it. All your allies with infinity range will start getting healed per second. If they also pass over Hallowed and it stays up no matter how far they wander from you after you cast it, If they walk over hallowed ground, they will also get this armor buff you can see down the bottom. This is very important to bore you with math for a second because you can see 432 armor. I forget what the base is, but it's at least 300 if I recall correctly. Many people are like, oh, Wisp heals more than Oberon. She doesn't. With the way, because Wisp is only healing you, whereas Oberon and Citrine, who's the more direct competitor for Oberon, both heal you and provide a form of damage reduction. In this case, Oberon's armor is more than doubling your effective health, which means it's also more than doubling that effective healing. The biggest problem with this is one that has its issues, is the more people and companions and summons that are running around, the faster this will drain Oberon's energy. You can see the extra energy per target on the third line there. Biggest complaint from everyone trying to run Oberon, particularly as this is a channeled ability and thereby disables your energy regeneration from Xeneric Trinity. Oberon makes me think old school Trinity. Things like that, as Styanax is the new version, I guess, as well. So you have to really kind of rely on orbs to get your energy back for this. The augment for this, which again, it's not allowing us to show properly. We're in the simulacrum, that's why. When your teammates are under the effect of this, they will automatically revive if they fall down on a cooldown. Reckoning is the big jellyfish, as my buddy likes to call him, Slam. Reckoning does a few different things. Obviously, it does damage, but it also blinds the enemies in a radius around it. If it's done on hallowed ground, again, synergizing with this, it will remove armor as well. If you kill them with it, they have a 50% chance to drop a health orb, which honestly could be 100% and should really just be if they're affected by it and they die. Hallowed Reckoning, which is my augment there, actually leaves radiation circles on the ground that standing in them will additionally give you more armor. So if I combine both my armor buffs from the Renewal plus Hallowed Ground and the Reckoning circles, I will actually get almost 1,000 armor, which is a very nice buff, particularly when combined with Oberon's healing. You're effectively healing 300 to 400 or 500 HP a second. So we'll do some showing off here once I get energized to trigger. So yeah, this is your hallowed ground. This is mostly a crowd control. You can see up at the top, I've got the 86 healing per second and the iron renewal for 432. I can stack that up with growing power and different things, but we'll talk about that in a second. If you cast this while they're on that, boom bap, their armor's gone. Now if we kill these guys for a second, we'll load in a fresh crew. We'll let their AI be on. And you can see none of them are attacking me. Now this one guy over in the corner has gone away from the group. It's alright, I can smite him. Smiting enemies also opens to ground finishers. This guy can't be downed in that way, so really not at your threshold yet. Stupid enemy. He's got damage attenuation, which also blocks the smite kill, but it'll work eventually. So yeah, that's kind of part and parcel of how the whole Oberon playstyle goes. You don't need this all the time. Quite often you can just keep running around spamming the Reckoning, but... And just generally, he is a tanky boy. Alright, build time. So this is not a terribly complex build by any means. If you want something else to try here, this was a brief attempt at an Arcane Bellicose build, but it doesn't actually math out at the end of the day. You can try that. Feel free to pause that and try and make it work if you want. Let me know in the comments if you figure out a way to get it to work. But yeah, Arcane Bellicose, kind of a trap mod. It's very hard to actually get to catch up to multi-augmented and without completely building around it and dropping 20 other options. We got Growing Power. Basically, when you deal with status effects, you get this relatively large strength bonus. After which you would immediately cast Renewal to upgrade the amount of healing that and armor that's doing. You don't have to cast Hallowed Ground with the buff, just Renewal, because Renewal will snapshot the strength, and then it'll carry on when you walk over Hallowed Ground. Prime Continuity just helps out his circles. It gives him a little less drain on this because of how that works. Hallowed Ground and the Reckoning circles will keep up a little more. It also gives you a longer blind on the enemies. Triple Umbrals. You could drop Umbral Fiber, really. If you wanted, you could do something like a Mars Hatred in there instead. It balances out to a bit the same if you prefer that. You could do Blind Rage if you're really confident into your energy generation to boost up a little more damage as well. We do have Power Drift up here. Oberon generally isn't going to... Well, Hallowed Ground will stop him getting knocked down if you're a Prime Sure-Footed addict anyways. And then he generally can't easily be killed when he's knocked down because of his renewal armor and all that sort of stuff. Stretch, no-brainer. He has two things that require a wide area. Prime Flow, he is an energy-hungry boy. If you don't have a Prime version of one of these mods, of course, just run the regular one. You can also get the Archon versions. They take a little more capacity, but you can get them without being on a clock as long as you can get to the Veilbreaker quest. You won't have to wait for Barrow or trade plat with people to get them. Augur Secrets. I'd rather he didn't regen the shield specifically in a lot of cases, but that is a side effect of using that. Again, we just want strength there, so if you feel you can get away with Transient Fortitude or Blind Rage, I find it screws up his energy economy. Go ahead and do those as you can do those as well. Hallowed Reckoning is our choice of augment. It just makes a circle around the enemy that continuously damages them and gives us armor if we're standing around them. You'll notice I melee a lot with Oberon here, so that's a pretty constant armor increase I'm getting. Oberon does do flat armor too. He's not like Warcry or Elemental Ward where he boosts your base armor, so he pushes this up to like a close to 2,000 once he gets fully built up with his multi-augmented and every growing power and everything like that. Around 2,000, that ends up being something like 80%. Weapons. I don't know if I've put my Tenant Planks in a video. My Tenant Planks doesn't have an arcane in it, so apparently I'm just an idiot. Don't mind me. Put your arcane of choice in here. Sanctity Magistar. Incarnate Weapon, kind of a no-brainer here. For Oberon, it really should be melee exposure. He doesn't cast his ability, or he does cast his abilities pretty often, so that will also work. This is generally kind of a critical thing, so you can do melee crescendo with the ground finishers that he does from Smite, just to get a whole pile of combo. You could also do melee fortification for even more armor if you want to go super tanky. The one I'm thinking of is Animosity. Just gives you bonus critical chance, basically. Highly recommended. We've shown off Ozzy before, I think, but Ozzy's missing a mod for some reason. I'll figure that out later. But yeah, you probably want either the Sahasa Kubro if you can get it because of the Dig mod. This basically acts like a dispensary. He'll just pull out energy orbs and throw them at Oberon. it's not as spamming as Dispensary. You could certainly Helminth Dispensary on if you wanted as well, but over Smite for this build specifically. But yeah, it will continuously kind of throw energy at you and trigger Energize. The other good option is a Death Cube, and then any animals with a duplex bond, which is the missing mod here. Not sure how that happened. Updates. Any animals with duplex bonds will also create 50% chance of dropping energy orbs, and Oberon constantly is spending energy on his healing, so he will constantly be generating more duplex clones. Yeah. Sancti Magister, of course, there's some big, basically incarnate stuff if you want. Not needed, just care IU any decent melee. Take your pick. There are so many melees in this game, they're almost all completely viable. Anyways, that has been the build portion of the video. I'm gonna jump over into some Steel Path, and we'll show it off. If you don't want to see that, thanks for hanging out so far for the build portion. Of course, consider a like and subscribe if you do want to see more. Feel free to drop a comment down with any questions or even tips or suggestions you think that might bring up Oberon. I'll take a second. So rework-wise, honestly, I think for all channeling abilities, they should just let you have energy regen. If your energy regen outpaces the channeling costs, then you regenerate energy. That would give so much utility to Zenric and things like that as well, for just regenning channeling frames, Oberon, Equinox, Excalibur, and whoever else is doing it nowadays. The other one with Iron Renewal, of course, is just scaling down the goofy energy drain per companion. Why do you punish a support frame for having a team? He literally plays better solo. This is it's the hero situation, but from a different angle. Other than that, some of the synergies could, like Reckoning, you'll see when I'm in the mission, can be really kind of long to cast. That's probably one of my bigger ones, is casting speed on some of his abilities, especially when he has to cast like 3 things next to each other. Currently I have no shards in here. The obvious one if you want damage is this one, the bottom orange option here. Will do you a lot of good for actually boosting your damage. The rest are kind of your oyster. Armor will go very well because it again increases his health. You can also just try and throw up your effectiveness on energy orbs and things like that. Or you can just jam raw power strength into him with reds. Alright, let's head over to a mission. Alright, we got a Grenier defense. Perfect. Oberon, of course, is going to do better in kind of stationary stuff because he throws down area denials. He can move around fairly fine. I was using him in Lich Hunts, as you saw at the start of the video, but he will get more utility if he has a spot to stay, like an interception or a defense type mission. Mobile defense, stage defense, mirror defense, defense times 3, the revenge of the defense.
Each enemy is more powerful than
I just like to get started with one of those. That gives me some early power strength to start a renewal. Make sure you hang around your dog at the start if you have him. Sometimes he'll dig while you're loading in, but sometimes he takes a second. And it would be nice if that had triggered the Arcane Energize, but we'll throw down some grass here to buff our teammates immediately. The Cinta is basically my cosmetic thing, but I don't really use it consistently. And yeah, a whole bunch of this basically. Cast down grass, cast down 4, 2, then 4, then 2, then 4. If you're not fighting armored enemies, you can skip the 2. A lot of the time. Keep an eye out for a check mark in my buffs, because that's when the growing power is kicked up. Which will tell me that I... There it is. We can cast a stronger version of the renewal. Ideally, we want to get that off near our allies. Also, yeah, try and use a dark energy color. Otherwise, these circles I'm making that you can kind of see swirling will be entirely obnoxious to your teammates. Or don't. You do you. The other handy thing about Reckoning is it will tell you where the enemies are because of the constant damage ticks going on. Yeah, if you see an Xmas unit, throw your hallowed ground down, because that'll basically just nullify their actual effectiveness. Almost completely.
We Baron always collect our debts.
Yeah, Glast. What you got? Yeah, they're down here. This Oberon in a nutshell. Are we gonna get an acolyte? Or did the Glassed Assassins kind of screw that up? If you're wondering why my hammer has toxin on it, it's because this is the hammer I use with generally frost, but also in Oberon's case, they both strip armor. So. Are we going to finish the defense before an acolyte spawns? Oh, that's weird. I must have been just outside the grass. Malice is not on the grass, so where are they? There we go. Nova is helping out a decent amount here. I will concede that as well. But Steel Path is meant to be played with 4 people, so.
You exist to strike. You strike to win. The lesson ends.
And that's a quick run of Oberon. If you have kept along here for the whole way, thanks for watching. We will catch you in the next one, which I believe is going to be one of the new Exalted update people. I'm talking here, Letty. One of the new exalted weapon slate rework things. That should be coming out later this week. Till then, have a good one. Again, remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more. Hope you enjoy your time, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.